Not everyone who smiles in your face is really on your side. Some people carry quiet resentment hidden beneath politeness, disguised behind laughter. And if you don't pay attention, you'll mistake their presence for support when really it's poison in disguise. Today, let's uncover the subtle behaviors that reveal when someone secretly hates you and how to recognize it before it drains your confidence. The truth is this: hate doesn't always announce itself with shouting or arguments. Sometimes it shows up in whispers, in small actions, in the way someone looks at you when they think you're not paying attention. One of the first signs, backhanded compliments. They'll say something like, "Whoa, I didn't think you'd pull that off," or "You're actually smarter than you look." Notice that, because it's not encouragement, it's a disguised put down. Second, watch for silent sabotage. These people won't openly fight you, they'll just forget to pass on important details, they'll delay helping you, or they'll conveniently disappear when you need them most. That's not support, that's quiet hostility. Then there's mockery in disguise. They'll joke about your flaws in front of others, laugh when you're uncomfortable. And if you call it out, they'll hide behind, "Relax, I was just joking." But jokes that only cut one way aren't jokes, they're daggers with a smile. Here's another: they never celebrate you. Pay attention when you succeed. Do they clap for you, or do they go silent? People who secretly hate you don't like to see you win. Your victories remind them of their own insecurities. And maybe the most dangerous one, they drain your energy. Every time you leave a conversation with them, you feel smaller, less sure of yourself, like maybe you're the problem. That's not friendship, that's slow poison. Not everyone who sits at your table is there to share a meal. Some are only watching your plate. When you see these patterns, backhanded compliments, sabotage, fake jokes, lack of support, don't excuse it, don't explain it away. Recognize it. Because whoever does this secretly hates you. Subtle negativity is one of the clearest indicators that someone doesn't genuinely like you, but it's also one of the hardest to recognize because it rarely shows up in obvious ways. Most people expect hate to come loud, direct, and aggressive. They picture shouting matches, insults thrown across the room, or outright rejection, but in reality, the kind of hate that cuts the deepest often hides itself beneath quiet gestures, disguised expressions, and little comments that slip past if you're not paying attention. It doesn't announce itself, it seeps in. It creeps into conversations through tone, body language, and carefully chosen words that look harmless on the surface but carry poison underneath. You've probably felt it before without being able to name it. That moment when someone responds to your excitement with a half smile that doesn't reach their eyes, or when you share an accomplishment and they answer with something flat like, "Oh, that's nice," before quickly changing the subject. They're not screaming at you, they're not arguing, but you walk away feeling smaller, like the joy you had was just dimmed by their presence. That's not neutrality, that's negativity dressed as indifference. It also shows up in conversations where they emphasize the negative side of things more than the positive. You share an idea, and instead of encouragement, you hear, "That's going to be really hard," or "Are you sure you can handle that?" They may even mask it as concern, but listen closely to the tone. True support looks for solutions, it uplifts, it balances caution with belief. Subtle negativity, on the other hand, leaves you second-guessing yourself, doubting if you're capable, wondering if you made the right choice. It doesn't guide, it discourages. Sometimes it's in the way they talk about others in front of you. They constantly highlight flaws, spread small criticisms, or make jokes at someone else's expense. At first, it may seem harmless because it's not directed at you. But the truth is, if they carry that energy around others, it's only a matter of time before it circles back to you. Negativity is not selective, it's a habit. And when someone habitually minimizes others, it's often because deep down they feel threatened or resentful. Subtle negativity also hides behind nonverbal cues. Watch how they react when you walk into a room. Do their eyes roll before they mask it with a smile? Do they sigh quietly when you speak? Do they give you a look that lingers a second too long, like they're holding something back? These are micro reactions, small cracks in the mask, but they reveal more truth than words ever will. People can fake politeness, but it's much harder to fake enthusiasm, warmth, or genuine happiness for someone else. And sometimes it's the silence that tells the story. When they don't acknowledge your presence, when they ignore your ideas in a group but suddenly pay attention once someone else repeats them, when they withhold the simplest words of affirmation that they freely give to others, that silence speaks. It speaks volumes about how they truly see you. Backhanded compliments are one of the most manipulative tools people use when they secretly dislike you, because they allow the person to disguise their hostility as kindness. On the surface, it sounds like they're praising you, but if you pay close attention, there's always a sting attached to it. It's the kind of comment that makes you pause for a second and think, wait, was that supposed to be nice or was that an insult? And that hesitation is exactly the point. They want you to feel unsettled, uncertain about where you stand, and questioning your own worth without them ever having to openly attack you. It's hostility wrapped in gift paper. You've probably heard these kinds of comments before. Someone says, wow, you actually look good today, as if every other day you didn't. Or, I didn't expect you to pull that off, as though your success was some kind of accident or surprise. Or, you're smarter than you seem, which sounds like they're giving credit, but really they're insulting your intelligence first before handing out a half-hearted compliment. The structure is always the same: pretend to lift you up while secretly pulling you down. The danger with batted compliments is that they're hard to confront. If you call the person out, they immediately have the perfect defense. What? I was just giving you a compliment. Suddenly, you're the one who looks overly sensitive or defensive while they continue playing innocent. That's what makes it so manipulative. It keeps them in control while you're left doubting whether you're imagining things. They create this gray area where their negativity can hide, and they rely on you not wanting to cause conflict to keep getting away with it. And here's the thing: backhanded compliments don't come from people who are proud of you or happy for you. They come from people who feel threatened by your presence, your success, or even just your confidence. Instead of showing genuine support, they disguise their envy through these sharp little remarks. It's a way for them to remind you that no matter how well you're doing, they'll find a way to make it seem smaller, less impressive, or less deserved. Their words are like little anchors tied to your self-esteem, dragging it just low enough to keep you from standing tall. What's even more telling is the timing of these comments. They often show up in moments when you should be celebrating, when you've accomplished something, when you're being noticed, or when you're simply feeling good about yourself. Instead of matching your joy, they try to puncture it with a disguised insult. Think about how often someone has said, "I didn't think you'd make it this far," right at the moment you were proud of your progress. It's intentional. It's about taking away a piece of your victory and keeping you from fully owning it. Backhanded compliments are also a way for them to test boundaries. If you let it slide once, they'll do it again. If you laugh it off, they'll push further. It's a subtle form of control because over time, you start to anticipate it. You walk into conversations with them already on guard, already bracing for that little sting hidden inside their words. And once they've got you in that place, you're no longer free. You're cautious, careful, calculating your responses to avoid giving them more ammunition. That's how something so small becomes so powerful. Silent sabotage is one of the most dangerous forms of hidden hate because it doesn't look like hate at all on the surface. It looks like forgetfulness, like coincidence, like bad timing. But when you pay attention closely, you start to see the pattern. Things never quite line up when they're involved. They don't openly attack you. They don't openly disagree with you, but somehow, whenever you rely on them, something goes missing, something falls apart, something doesn't get done. It's not loud betrayal, it's quiet erosion. And the reason it cuts so deep is because it often comes from people who are supposed to be in your corner. This is the person who conveniently forgets to pass on important information, the one who promises they'll help but always comes up short when it matters most, the one who delays getting back to you just long enough for you to miss an opportunity. If you confront them, they'll shrug it off with excuses like, "Oh, I must have overlooked it," or "Sorry, I didn't think it was that important." They position themselves as careless, not cruel. But when it happens again and again, you start to realize it's not an accident, it's intentional. They want to see you stumble, but they want to do it in a way that keeps their hands clean. The hardest part about silent sabotage is that it makes you question yourself. You start to wonder if you're overreacting, if maybe you really are asking for too much, if maybe they didn't mean it the way it feels. And that's exactly how sabotage survives, by staying just subtle enough that you doubt yourself before you doubt them. It's a psychological game. They keep you off balance by being just helpful enough to look supportive, while being just destructive enough to make sure you don't rise too far. You can see it play out in group dynamics too. Maybe you're working on a team project, and every time you share an idea, this person either ignores it, downplays it, or quietly rephrases it later as their own. They don't attack you in front of everyone, but they chip away at your contribution, making sure your voice never fully gets credit. Or maybe they smile to your face and say they've got your back, but behind closed doors, they plant seeds of doubt about you to others. It's quiet, it's indirect, and it's effective. By the time you realize what's happening, they've already shaped the perception of you in a way that weakens your standing. Silent sabotage also shows up in timing. When you're counting on encouragement before something big, an exam, a performance, a presentation, they suddenly go quiet. When you need resources or connections, they don't step forward even though they could. They won't outright deny you, but they'll drag their feet until it's too late. It's not that they don't have the ability to support you, it's that they don't want you to win. And instead of admitting that, they hide it behind hesitation, delay, or forgetfulness. What makes this so destructive is that it wears you down slowly. It's not one big blow that knocks you off your path. It's 100 small cuts you don't even notice at first. A missed opportunity here, a delay there, a lack of support when it mattered most. And over time, those small cuts bleed into discouragement, into self-doubt. into the quiet voice that asks if maybe you're just not meant to succeed, withdrawing support is one of the clearest ways someone's hidden resentment reveals itself. Because when people care about you, their support isn't selective, it isn't conditional, it isn't something that disappears the moment you step into the light. True support is consistent. It shows up when you win, when you lose, when you're just trying. But when someone secretly hates you, you'll notice their support evaporates the second it matters most. They might cheer for others, they might clap loudly when someone else gets recognition. But when it comes to you, their silence is deafening. They'll be there in the ordinary moments, but in the moments that define you, they vanish. It often shows up in celebrations. You get the job you've been working toward, you achieve the goal you set for yourself, and instead of excitement, they give you a forced smile, a lukewarm congratulations, or worse, they immediately change the subject to themselves or someone else. It's not that they didn't hear you, it's that they don't want to validate your success. Celebrating you costs them too much because it means admitting you're doing well, and that stirs up the envy they're trying to hide. So instead of lifting you up, they choose withdrawal, hoping their lack of recognition dulls the shine of your achievement. You'll also notice it in the little milestones. The people who truly support you don't need your wins to be massive in order to clap for you. They get excited when you take small steps, when you improve, when you grow even a little. But the ones who secretly hate you, they save their praise for others while leaving you empty-handed. They may even pretend they didn't notice, or they'll downplay it with lines like, "Oh, that's good, but anyone could have done that," or "It's not that big of a deal." What they're doing is stripping the weight from your victories so that you never fully feel the confidence that comes with them. And it's not just about what they say, it's about what they don't say. You can feel it in the way they watch you, the way their silence lingers when everyone else is acknowledging your work, the way they don't show up when you invite them to moments that matter. Absence is its own kind of message. They want you to notice that they're not clapping, not present, not invested, because that absence chips away at your sense of worth. And the cruel part is, they do it while still maintaining the image of neutrality. If you bring it up, they'll brush it off with, "I've just been busy," or "Sorry, I didn't realize it was that important." But patterns don't lie, and repeated absence is not an accident. Withdrawing support also exposes itself in comparisons. When others succeed, they're loud with praise, they post about it, they bring it up in conversation, they make sure that person feels acknowledged. But when it's you, their energy shifts. Suddenly, they're quiet, uninterested, detached. That contrast is intentional. It's a way to single you out, to remind you that you're not as celebrated, not as deserving, at least in their eyes. And the more they withdraw, the more they hope you start to believe it too. Mockery in disguise is one of the most cutting forms of hidden hate, because it allows someone to attack you openly while still having an escape route. They hide behind the mask of humor, using jokes and laughter as a shield so they can throw insults without taking responsibility for them. It usually starts small, a comment about how you look, how you talk, or how you handled something, and it's delivered with a smirk or followed by, "Relax, I'm just joking." But jokes don't sting unless there's truth behind them. And the truth here is that their humor is just a weapon dressed up as playfulness. The tactic works because laughter disarms people. When others laugh at the joke, it isolates you, making you feel like you're the only one who doesn't find it funny. And when you speak up about it, you're instantly labeled as sensitive or uptight, as if the problem isn't the insult, but your inability to take a joke. That's the trap. They get to attack, and you get to carry the blame for not laughing along. It's a one-sided game where you're the punchline, and they're always the one in control. It shows up in social settings the most when there's an audience. They'll make comments about your flaws, your mistakes, or even your insecurities in front of other people, framing it as harmless fun. Everyone laughs, maybe even you force a laugh just to avoid looking defensive, but inside, it cuts deeper than anyone realizes. They know this too. That's why they choose humor. It allows them to wound you publicly while protecting themselves with the excuse of comedy. And the more people laugh, the more power it gives them to keep doing it. What makes mockery so dangerous is that it erodes your confidence over time. Every joke chips away at how you see yourself. You start to wonder if people only see you as the flaws they point out. You start replaying their words later, long after everyone else has forgotten the laughter. That's how disguised mockery works. It plants seeds of doubt in you while giving them cover. They can always claim innocence, but the damage is already done. It's also revealing in what they choose to joke about. Pay attention to the topics they constantly circle back to, because humor has a way of exposing what someone really feels. If they're always making jokes about your success, it's because it bothers them. If they keep mocking your habits, your personality, or your dreams, it's because those things trigger resentment in them. Jokes are rarely random, they're targeted, and the areas they target are usually the exact areas where their envy or dislike sits. Even their delivery exposes them. A real joke makes people laugh with you, not at you. But mockery in disguise always has that undertone, that smirk, that lingering look that tells you they're laughing at your expense. And when they follow it up with, "Don't be so serious," or "Lighten up," it's not an invitation to laugh. It's a way of silencing you so they can keep getting away with it. Over time, you stop speaking up, you stop pushing back, and you start carrying the weight of their so-called jokes like quiet bruises no one else can see copy but compete is one of the most telling behaviors of someone who secretly hates you, because it's not just dislike, it's envy disguised as admiration. On the surface, it might look like they're inspired by you, like they want to follow your path or learn from your habits, but when you look closer, you'll notice it isn't about appreciation at all. It's about taking what you do and trying to outshine you with it. They mirror your style, your ideas, your choices, but the goal isn't to be like you, it's to beat you at being you. That kind of energy doesn't come from respect, it comes from resentment. It starts subtly. Maybe you wear something unique, and suddenly they're wearing the same thing a week later. Maybe you come up with an idea, and suddenly they present a version of it as if it was their own. Maybe you post something online that gets attention, and suddenly they're posting something strikingly similar but trying to push it further. At first, it can feel flattering, almost like imitation is a compliment, but over time you begin to notice a pattern. They're not just imitating, they're competing. They want to erase your originality by making it theirs, and they want to prove they can do it better than you. The trick here is how careful they play it off. If you bring it up, they'll act innocent. They'll say, "Oh, I didn't even notice," or "I just like the idea." They make it sound casual, like coincidence. But when it happens again and again, it's no coincidence, it's calculated. They study what you do because it works, and then they step into your lane with the intent to overshadow you. And the truth is, someone who genuinely supports you doesn't feel the need to compete with you. They celebrate your lane while staying in theirs. When someone keeps crossing into your space, it's not because they admire you, it's because they want to outdo you. What makes this kind of hidden hate exhausting is that it creates an invisible rivalry. You never signed up for a competition, but suddenly you feel like you're in one. Every time you try something new, you catch them trailing behind you, waiting to flip it into their own advantage. You can't even enjoy your wins fully because you know they're already plotting how to replicate and surpass them. And it's draining because you're not just fighting for your progress, you're fighting to keep your identity from being copied, diluted, and claimed by someone who pretends to be on your side. There's also a certain bitterness in the way they present themselves once they copy you. Instead of acknowledging where the inspiration came from, they act like they invented it, like they were the first to think of it, like you were simply following them. That revision of the story is part of the competition. They don't just want what you have, they want to rewrite the narrative so that they're the original and you're the imitation. And when people don't know the full story, sometimes they succeed in flipping the perception. That's what makes it feel like betrayal, because it's not just competition, it's competition built on stealing your blueprint and erasing your credit. And the clearest sign is how they react when you pull ahead. If copying was really about admiration, they'd still cheer for you even when you're winning. But instead, they grow tense, quiet, or even dismissive. They wanted to take your moves and use them to level the field, not to genuinely see you rise. The competition isn't about growth, it's about making sure you don't stand taller than them. Even if they had to borrow your steps to get their passive-aggressive behavior is one of the clearest signs of hidden hate, because it allows someone to maintain the appearance of friendliness while quietly slipping in their resentment. On the outside, they smile, they nod, they may even agree with you, but underneath, their actions reveal the truth. It's a split personality of sorts. The words and the body language don't match, the tone and the intention don't align. They pretend to support you, but their behavior is filled with sarcasm, delays, avoidance, and subtle resistance. They don't fight you openly, but they make sure you feel the weight of their disapproval through indirect jabs. It can sound like harmless sarcasm. You tell them about your plans, and they say, "Oh yeah, good luck with that," with a tone that doesn't match the words. They'll smile while saying it, but the smile doesn't feel genuine. Or you ask for their input, and instead of offering feedback, they deliver their opinion wrapped in a sarcastic laugh, making you feel like your idea was ridiculous to begin with. It's not outright cruelty, it's cruelty hidden under humor, cruelty disguised as wit. And because it's not direct, it's harder to call out without looking like you're overreacting. Passive aggressiveness also shows up in how they handle responsibility. They'll agree to help you with something, but then they'll drag their feet, delay their part, or intentionally do it poorly so you end up frustrated. They technically did what you asked, but the way they did it makes it useless. And if you call them out, they hide behind excuses. "I thought that's what you wanted," or "Sorry, I guess I misunderstood." It keeps them protected, but the sabotage is still done. That's the game. They can deny everything while still making you feel unsupported. Another sign is avoidance. When you're dealing with someone who harbors resentment, you'll notice they often dodge direct conversations. They won't tell you they're upset. They won't tell you they disagree. They just go quiet, give you the cold shoulder, or withdraw in a way that leaves you uncertain about what's wrong. This silence is its own weapon because it keeps you guessing, keeps you uncomfortable, keeps you wondering if you've done something wrong. And in that uncertainty, they hold the power because you're the one left chasing clarity while they get to sit back and watch. Passive-aggressive behavior thrives in these gray areas where the intent is always deniable. They'll make little comments that sting, but when you address it, they'll say, "I didn't mean it that way," or "You're taking it too seriously." They'll withhold enthusiasm, but if you mention it, they'll say, "Oh, I just wasn't feeling well." It's a cycle of hidden hostility paired with just enough innocence to make you doubt yourself. And over time, that constant push and pull wears you down. You start bracing yourself before you speak, trying to decode their tone, wondering if there's a hidden meaning behind their words. It traps you in a state of hyper-awareness, where every interaction feels like a game you didn't agree to play. The truth is, passive aggressiveness isn't harmless. It's hostility with a smile. It's not about miscommunication. It's about control. They don't want to be seen as openly against you, so they create a mask of politeness while still making sure their dislike bleeds through the cracks. And the longer you're around it, the more you start to feel the strain of being in relationships where you're never quite sure if the support is real or if the words are just a cover for something colder underneath. Energy drainers are some of the most difficult people to identify as secret haters because on the surface, they don't always look like enemies. They're not openly attacking you. They're not calling you names. They may even frame their presence as supportive. But the test is simple. How do you feel after you've been around them? Do you feel lighter, encouraged, motivated, or do you feel heavier, smaller, second-guessing yourself? People who secretly hate you leave you drained because every interaction is laced with subtle digs, dismissive reactions, or conversations that revolve around making you question yourself. You walk away from them not energized, but deflated because they've siphoned something from you without ever having to raise their voice. It happens in conversations that look normal to anyone on the outside but feel exhausting to you. You share good news, and instead of matching your excitement, they respond with something flat, something that minimizes what you've accomplished. Or worse, they pivot immediately to themselves. What should have been a moment of shared joy becomes a moment where you're left holding your own celebration, while they stand there making you feel like maybe it wasn't worth celebrating at all. And even though the words weren't harsh, the energy tells the truth. You don't feel lifted, you feel emptied. Energy drainers are skilled at flipping the focus back on you in ways that make you feel insecure. They'll ask questions that sound casual, but are designed to poke at your weaknesses. They'll make observations about you that seem harmless, but stick with you long after the conversation is over. Maybe it's a subtle remark about how tired you look, how stressed you seem, how you're not doing as well as you think. They don't say it outright, but the implication is there that you're less than, that you're not as strong as you thought, that you're failing quietly. And because they don't say it bluntly, you can't call it out, but it sits in your mind like a weight. These are the people who never give you clarity, only confusion. When you seek advice, they don't provide direction, they provide doubt. When you seek encouragement, they give you hesitation. When you're already vulnerable, they pile on more uncertainty. And little by little, it starts to take a toll. You notice that before you talk to them, you feel hopeful, but after, you feel stuck. You notice that before you shared your idea, you believed in it, but after, you're not sure if it was even worth pursuing. That's the mark of an energy drainer. Your spirit shrinks in their presence. The worst part is how subtle it can be. They might smile, they might laugh, they might even use a tone that sounds friendly, but the result is the same. You're left questioning yourself. And that's how hidden hate works. It doesn't always slap you in the face. It chips away at you. It wears you down in ways that are easy to dismiss in the moment, but powerful when repeated over time. One draining comment might not matter, but 10 of them, 20 of them, 100 of them, you start to believe the version of yourself they reflect back to you. You start doubting your abilities, your progress, your worth, not because of what's true, but because of what you've absorbed from someone who never wanted to see you fully rise in the first place. Here's a powerful conclusion that ties the entire script together in the same strong, courtroom-style delivery. No fluff, just a commanding close. The truth is this: hate doesn't always wear a mask of anger. More often, it wears a smile. It hides in subtle negativity and backhanded compliments, in the quiet sabotage you can't quite prove but always feel. It laughs at you under the disguise of a joke. It copies you while trying to erase you. It shows up in passive-aggressive comments that sound harmless but land heavy. And sometimes it doesn't say anything at all. It just drains you until you no longer recognize your own strength. What you allow is what continues. And when you start to recognize these patterns for what they are, you stop giving them space in your life, because people who secretly hate you are not meant to hold front row seats to your story. Protect your energy, protect your confidence, protect your peace. Your circle is not measured by how many people sit around you. It's measured by how many of them truly want to see you win. So pay attention, trust what you feel, and remember this. When someone shows you that their support is fake, don't argue with it. Don't excuse it, accept it. Because the sooner you see it for what it is, the sooner you can step into spaces filled with people who don't just stand beside you, but genuinely stand with you.